What's up, guys? Quality Reps here, back with another stretching mobility routine for you guys. This one is going to be targeting the rhomboid, lats, traps, and shoulders. Just call it thoracic rotation. We're going to be rotating the upper part of our body. Most of these stretches are going to be keeping our lower lumbar spine locked in place while we do this. For example, the first one here is a chair twist. So we're going to be using our chair and really just rotating through that range of motion around. It's going to be a really nice stretch. Big inhale, switching to the other side. Simple. This is going to really this is really helpful for me as a boxer as we do a lot of rotational power drills. But really, we don't see a lot of stretches in that range of motion. Usually you get that lateral plane of motion stretched out, spinal flexion. But I think as a boxer, it's really important to put some time and energy into rotating and stretching in that range of motion. Next one we're gonna do is just a nice child's pose. Speaking of lateral flexion, this one is just the king, really, for stretching out your shoulders, stretching out your hips and your knees, trying to get our butt to our ankles always, feet together, knees mat distance apart, shoulders are dropping down to the mat, and our fingers are crawling forward always, guys. Really going a bit more intense on this one. We're going to inhale, rise up. Now we're on our knees, so from the knees our butt is pointing straight up. This is puppy pose now, so from child to puppy pose. I do both of these almost every single upper body movement day, which basically is 5 days a week for me at this point, if not 6. Usually more like 7, but that's just me. Anyways, this is a really great one. This is going to target more of the back. You can get a different angle on the shoulders here too. Really great. Inhale, we're going to come onto our back now for bridge. So starting out, working on your simple bridge here, guys. Really trying to, you can measure it out a little bit by touching your ankles. That's a good way to start. And then you're just pushing up as far as you can, pushing your hips up, and eventually, always attempt, you know what I mean? Don't be scared to attempt the full bridge. Full bridge is a lot more beneficial than simple bridge, but you really need to work on your simple bridge in order to, make that jump. Having, a good overhead press also helps a lot, but it's really just a mobility thing. I know a lot of people who are really strong that can't full bridge coming down, making sure that you're putting every vertebrae down nice and evenly when you're coming down out of that bridge. Feels really nice. Moving into on our knees, we can do the standing up too for the tricep clasp. So starting with whatever side is easier, guys, we're going to take one arm behind us, well, both of our arms behind us, on one going overhead, and we're going to clasp our hands together like you see me doing here in the video. So this is a really great way to open up the chest, right? It kind of forces you to open up the chest. This side, for whatever reason, is a lot easier for me to do than this other side. You'll see me really muscle through to get this one. Really struggling here, but then once my fingers touch, right, you go for that clasp and breathe. All right, don't forget to breathe. Deep breathing. Remember, this is about self-compassion. We're stretching out our muscles for better recovery, better range of motion, and honestly, guys, more strength, right? You don't ever want to get caught lacking in a range of motion and hurt yourself, right? It's not something we do here at Quality Reps. So laying on your back, we're going to go into some mobility drills here for the back. So make sure you have enough space overhead and to your sides. Your legs are going to come up 90 degrees off the ground, and then your feet 90 degrees from there, straight parallel to the ground. It's going to go to the side. Bottom leg is going to straighten out right beneath you, and we're going to go into these eagles. So I really want to see a perfect 90-degree range of motion here, guys. So like touching your hand's coming straight out in front of you, and then your hand that's coming up and over is straight behind you. You're going to go for 10 reps. Most important thing here, guys, is that your hand that's on the floor and your knee is not moving off the floor, and that your hips are straight towards whichever direction that hand that's on the ground is facing. So the hips have to be straight and the knees have to be locked on the ground. I don't want to see your knees creeping up. So going for 10 reps. If your hand can't touch the ground behind you, that's totally fine. Just go to the end of the range of motion. I'd rather see that and you not touch the ground than have your knee raise at all or your lumbar spine engage, right? So your lumbar spine is twisting through your hips, right? We're moving on to the other side now. Setting it up nicely, right? The setup is very important. Top leg out 90 degrees, bottom leg straight out. And we're just really opening up the back and chest here, guys. So we're doing 10 reps on each side. Like I was saying before, the lumbar spine, so your hips, I don't want them to be even tilting or moving at all. That's locked in, okay? Locked straight out in front of you, right? The hips are facing forward. They're not turning as you turn over. This is going to create the desired range of motion for your thoracic spine mobility, right? We're working on that upper body rotation mobility. This is a really nice exercise because you do get a little bit of stimulus out of it. It is kind of a little bit grindy. It's tough, right? It kind of feels more like exercise than stretching, but that's, I think, really awesome because, you know, you can use this as a tool to really work on, you know, your back mobility. So moving on to the other side, we're going to set it up the same way, except instead of coming across and over the chest, we're going to be creating a rainbow above the head here. So instead of doing a rainbow over the chest, we're going above, creating a nice rainbow on the ground with our hand, and then still coming out to that range of motion. You're not coming past that T pose. So you're going to come up and around your head, and then you're going to stop once you get to your arms at a T, right? So this is very similar to something like open book in yoga, which is one of my favorite passive stretches. This is windmill, doing windmills, right? This is another really great way to open up the back, chest, stretch out the chest, right? Most of you guys are feeling this one for sure. So just really try to develop that mind-muscle connection. Relax your shoulder, relax your back, let your arm just kind of fall, and then control it back to your hand. Making sure your knee is locked on the ground, making sure your hips are straight, guys. The hips like to creep, they like to turn over in this position, right? But you need to lock them in. 10 on each side. So that was 10 for me. I'm going to come over to the other side now. Switching over, back leg straightens out. And overhead. Alright guys, so now just gently picking yourself up off the ground after that one. We're going to come into our cat-cow position here. I'm just shaking it out just a little bit here after those eagles and windmills. Those are tough. So in this position, it's very important, right? We're not moving through our hips, and we're not, that other shoulder is not moving. This is called a quadruped rotation. So I'm putting one hand behind my head, and we're just opening up to the side in this range of motion, right? Really trying to get that twist without the hips moving and without my other shoulder being engaged, right? We're only engaging that one side, the thoracic side, right? So we're going to do 10 on each side here. That was just me readjusting. It's really important to set yourself up with these thoracic twists in a nice way, right? You want to make sure that your positioning is good to be able to leverage into some of these positions, because they're not easy, right? We're doing mobility drills here, right? It's not supposed to be easy. You're supposed to test your flexibility and your strength through range of motion. That's what mobility is, guys. Never forget that. Mobility is flexibility and strength, right? We want both, right? We want our cake and eat it too, every time, which is why we do these flows like this, right? So for instance, this one I would fall on my upper body chest day, push day, shoulder day, because I'd usually do spinal flexion on pull day, because your spine is quite warm usually after you do pull. So I usually train my spinal flexion on that day, and this is the day that I train my rotation, right? So after you do the other side of those quadruped rotations, you can pop into a nice child's pose here. That is the end of the flow. Feel free to stay in child's position as long as you'd like. Child's position is really, really great for relieving tension in the shoulders, the traps, and the whole back. If you have any tension there, holding it for even up to 2 or even 5 minutes can be a really great way to relieve some deep-rooted tension that you might have in any of those muscles due to it being a very passive position but still having a stretch. So it's not, a super intense stretch where you might hurt yourself by staying in it for too long, but it is going to help relax those muscles in a very major way, right? This is going to help you a lot if you have some problems, like, I know for boxers a lot of the times, right, they have those tight shoulders. They start to get their back really tight. I had to take a break from boxing because I injured my back from too many jabs, right? Not enough conditioning work, too many jabs. And this and doing more pull-ups and push-ups was what really helped me rehabilitate myself to get back into the game. So don't sleep on the longer positions, guys. It can be really useful, and it goes for everything, right? Like, if you can find yourself a asana that really targets that one muscle that bothers you, just sit in it. Every night, spend, if it's an asymmetrical position and you have to do 2, do 2 minutes on each side. If it's a symmetrical position like this here, do it for 4 minutes, right? 5 minutes, just hold it, right? You'll be surprised how much benefit you might get out of a transition like this into sleep. Anyways, that's just my 2 cents, guys. I really hope you guys enjoyed this flow. I do this one all the time. It really helps me stay, nice and loose and relaxed when I'm boxing. Please just drop a comment if you fucked with the video, and yeah, peace, guys. Thanks for watching. Proud of you for getting to the end. Love you guys. Peace.